My name is Willie Allshire. I'm originally from Caherbeg, outside Cork City. We purchased here in '95. I was in the printing business, so I was a rep. And this guy, Arthur Richardson, who was working for Teagasc, he was running a rural development course, which was an absolutely brilliant course at the time. The course covered, well, meat curing and making sausages for me, like bacon curing, but it covered, smoking salmon, making jam, making bread, making cheese, the variety of things. It was a really, really good course. It's very sad that they don't have something like it nowadays. But anyway, I did the meat part of it with savage enthusiasm, and I kind of got into trees and into shelter and this kind of stuff. And like with this system, you can have your trees and yet you can farm the ground at the same time. The present intensive farming can't continue. Like the trees have to get their recognition. Now, I was lucky that I had a natural love of trees or whatever, fascination, whatever you want to call it, long before this climate thing, 10, 15 years ago. So. But to use this horrible expression going forward, farmers are going to have to this intensive, monoculture is it's kind of naturally wrong if you want to say that, if that's a kind of an acceptable term. I mean, I know the guys that are in it don't see it that way, but I mean it's 100% factory farming, which is. It's better to get into a rhythm, just slow down and get into a rhythm, and you don't have to have 500 cows, you could have 100 cows, or, Farmers in general are really sceptical about agroforestry. I mean, it'd be a brilliant setup for woodland eggs or that type of thing. You could do pastured poultry here, which would work equally as well. Or you could do sheep. I've had sheep here, but we had a problem with shade at the time, but, over time we'll get that sorted out. If they wanted to do agroforestry and start in a slightly different way and, make wider passages or put the trees more at the edge or something, it could be it might make sense for them then to still be able to take hay and everything off the ground. This, where we are here is too tight to do hay. We only have 6 meters. In between the rows, which I think is way too tight. You'd have to get specialised small gear to do hay here now. It just wouldn't be worth it. You'd make far more money on hens, sheep, or eggs, But I mean, hay, like lamb, sheep, and eggs aren't for every farmer either, If I was an animal, I'd love to be grazing in an agroforestry system, because trees are naturally relaxing, and I mean, if you had a choice of being inside a 50-acre field with a bit of wire on each, with 10 paddocks or whatever it is going to be and have a field that's surrounded by trees or lines of trees, because the therapeutic value of, if the trees are therapeutic for humans, of course they're therapeutic for the animals, but sure, some people kind of say that, and that might be going too far to the hippie end of things, Another alternative farm enterprise we have here was started by my wife and a group of like-minded farmers a couple of years ago under the thing, the name West Cork Farm Tours. And this is for people from, that have never been on a farm before to come and see. Here they come and see an outdoor pig farm and they see the trees and stuff, and other farmers do dairy, then they see a dairy farm, how that works. And it's, you can get up to 20 or 30 pounds per person for a group of 50 people, which is a very viable thing if you had enough of it, And then Avril has diversified into forest bathing as well, and that's a huge opportunity. The main clientele for the forest bathing is groups of friends and people that want to de-stress, and people that are wound out and they want a few hours free from their phone, and all this kind of stuff, It's just a kind of a get back to nature thing. Ever since I can remember, I used to love walking in the wood. I've taken Avril, Avril's obviously my wife, but I've taken her on numerous forest walks. We'd always go to walk in a forest. We used to love the feeling of the forest underneath my feet, And I couldn't believe it when we got our first bit of ground, the 25 acres of 50-50 diverse. We've just been able to walk through it. I thought it was such a privilege, and when I was still working in the factory, I used to come down here in the quad in the evenings and just sit there about twilight, and you'd see the foxes and the cubs, and you'd hear the birds, and just switch off for half an hour, just very, very therapeutic. People with mental health issues, they're bringing them onto farms now and, getting them to put their hands into the earth and see how things grow, and you know, I think that's another alternative farm thing that could be started. I mean, farming is a very natural, good way of life from the point of view. It's a great way to have a family and bring them up and then bring them up in the country with the air, with the animals. They get appreciation for, you know, the countryside trees, things like it's, and like the possibilities are boundless if you work for them. Now you're like, obviously you always have to work, you know, more and more to get to kind of get bigger and better or whatever. But I mean, like, you know, from having bees on your farm to like, well, pigs with us, like with bees, you know, trees, agritourism, you know, forest bathing, I mean, you know, firewood, all the, you know, you could go into furniture making, all the alternatives are endless. I mean, if you were the ideal fellow and you had half a dozen sons or daughters, whatever, like, if you put your head down, you'd find a job for every one of them, you know, and they'd all have their own independent thing within the farm setup, you know. I'd be envious now of the grandchildren, what they'll think when they're 20 years old. I mean, I'll be long gone, but their heads will be spinning when they see all the different varieties of stuff here, you know. It has to be a massive natural asset, you know, and it's an asset that takes, you know, 20 to 40 years to build up, and it can be worked in so many different ways.